everyone, Hungry Reader here. It's December 16th. Time for more Not a Creature Was Stirring. As long as there have been stories, there have been fans of stories arguing over who the best storyteller is, and who the worst storyteller is. But one title that can never be contested is who the world's most scrumdiddlyumptious storyteller is. It will always be Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl is one of the greatest children's book writers and fiction writers of all time. Like this book, The Witches. In fairy tales, witches always wear silly black hats and black cloaks, and they ride on broomsticks. But this is not a fairy tale. This is about real witches. The main character of The Witches is a boy. We never learned the main character's name. When they made a movie of this book, they named him Luke, but in this book, our main character goes nameless. This boy is possessed of an amazing grandmother, an old Norwegian woman who spent her youth in one of the most exciting professions in the world, witch hunting. And the reason you hunt witches is because if you don't, they hunt children and destroy them at a rate of about 1 per week. Grandma herself knew of 5 different children that had been destroyed by the witches. Some by being transformed, others by being turned to stone, others disappeared entirely. Our young hero is a recent orphan who is now in the care of his grandmother, so she's telling him everything she knows to avoid witches. Chief among these is how to recognize them, because witches otherwise look just like women. I do not wish to speak badly about women. Most women are lovely, but the fact remains that all witches are women. There is no such thing as a male witch. On the other hand, a ghoul is always a male, so indeed is a Barghest. This book was the first place I ever even heard the word Barghest. You know what those are? Outside of a Dungeons & Dragons setting? Well, they're probably the same thing. They're ghost dogs. A ghoul, I just recently learned, is actually a kind of genie. They even appear in the Koran. If a tiger were able to make himself look like a large dog with a waggy tail, you would probably go up and pat him on the head. And that would be the end of you. It is the same with witches. They all look like nice ladies. This is one of the most interesting things about the witches in this book, is that they do use magic, but other than that, they're portrayed as a different species entirely that practices mimicry to match humanity. This is something that needs to be looked into, the idea of magic as an evolutionary advantage. When they're not wearing their disguises, witches have bald heads, claws like a cat's, square feet with no toes, and blue spit that they can use like ink. But above all, witches hate children. Why? Because they smell bad. While grandmother is recovering from a bad bout of pneumonia, they go on holiday to the English seaside. The hotel where they're staying is also hosting a convention for the Royal Society of the Prevention of Cruelty to Children. Yeah, that doesn't sound suspicious. Sure enough, our hero gets locked in the convention hall, and he is witness to the sight of 100 women taking off their wigs, removing their gloves, and kicking off their shoes to reveal themselves as witches to each other. But no witch is as terrifying as the disgusting Grand High Witch who has called them all there. First, she outright murders one of them just to get the attention of the rest of them. Then she presents her great plan to destroy every child in England. Their MO is so curious. I mean, what would happen if they won? Once they destroyed all the children, what would they do? Would they start a defertilization program to make sure that no more children get born? And you know, while we're on the subject, do witches reproduce? Can they? Are they born old, or were they all born at the same time? The Grand High Witch is a whole lot older than the rest of them. Oh, is a witch something you become? Is it like leprosy? The Grand High Witch's great plan is for all the witches in the room to buy sweet shops. Well, she knows her audience. This is something that would only work in England. If we had candy stores opening on every corner in America, we would think something was up. But she doesn't want them to poison the kids. Of course, that would be easy for the police to track down. No, she gives them all the recipe for Formula 86 Delayed Action Mouse Maker. Starting to see where this is going? Just as the convention is ending, and the boy is so eager to get back to his witch-hunting grandmother and tell her all about it, they find him. The witches dump an entire bottle of delayed action mouse maker down his throat. And the action isn't so delayed when you have that many doses. Our hero finds himself transformed into a mouse, along with another boy named Bruno that they had brought in just as a demonstration. Our hero makes his way back to his grandmother, where she discovers the horrible news, but also the incredible opportunity she has. The witches are preparing their move, but she has the opportunity to wipe them all out in one shot. Now, if this is all sounding familiar to you, you might recognize all this from the movie. The 1990 film The Witches, directed by Nicholas Regg, shows amazing fidelity to the book. Except in one place. The thing is, in the movie... Okay, spoilers. In the movie, there's a witch who turns her back on the whole witching movement and ends up turning the boy back into a human from a mouse. No such thing happens in this book. Luke, or whatever you want to call him, stays a mouse to the rest of his days. The story is told in first person. On the first page of the second chapter, you get this. Things happen to me that will probably make you scream when you read about them. That can't be helped. The truth must be told. The fact that I am still here and able to speak to you, however peculiar I may look, is due entirely to my wonderful grandmother. Oh, I have to tell you this story. When I mentioned to one of my friends that I was going to do The Witches, he told me that his teacher read it to him, and when he got that first chapter, the one that says, "These are real witches," he was like, oh man, they couldn't just say that. He tells me he crossed the road when he saw women wearing gloves for a few weeks after that.